Hello everyone, my name is Zachary Basil, and today I'm presenting my signature assignment for EDU 6201. My signature assignment is an interview with the Director of Teaching, Learning, and Innovation at ID School in Beijing, China. First, an agenda. I will first talk about the location of the interview. Then, I will share with you the background of the interviewee, as well as some of his responsibilities at the school. Next, I'll share with you a list of questions I used for the interview. Then, I'll give you some key findings from the interview. After that, I will provide an analysis which will compare the key findings from the interview to the current best practices in higher education administration. Lastly, you'll see a list of references and the presentation will be completed. First, let's talk about the location. At the beginning of the presentation, I mentioned that the name of the school is ID School. I also mentioned that it's located in Beijing, China. ID School is a private school. It gets absolutely no funding publicly. It provides K through 12 Chinese, British, American, and Australian education. It enrolls over 3,000 students from all across China. It also has a total of 440 faculty members from various countries. All right, let's talk about the interviewee, Russell Hazard. Russell has an MEd and EdD from the University of Calgary. He's the Director of Teaching, Learning, and Innovation at ID School. He's responsible for directing the school's Innovation Lab's PBL programming. PBL means Project-Based Learning. He also leads the Cambridge Professional Development Qualification courses. These are teacher training courses, which are extremely essential for the Chinese staff who have not been educated in Western teaching practices. He also conducts research and represents ID at conferences across the world. Here are a list of questions I used for the interview. Let's take a look at question number 1. You can see that I'm trying to gain an understanding of the mission or goal of the institution. I found this to be an extremely important first question as it provides a framework for the entire institution and the interview itself. Now, take a look at question 2 and 3. In question 2, I'm trying to get an idea of the climate and culture. And then in question 3, I'm trying to figure out some of the decision-making structures. I'm also trying to find out whether or not those are quick and responsive. And then if we look at question 4 and 5, you'll see that I'm trying to figure out how long it takes to enact change, as well as whether or not the decision-making processes are clear. So from questions 2 to 5, I'm really trying to figure out how things get done at the institution. Now, take a look at question 6. Question 6, I want to learn about the environment that the school is in. I found this to be another extremely important question to ask because of the location of the school. It's located in Beijing, China. So this is very different from Western institutions. So I wanted to figure out what kind of challenges they have when it comes to enrollments, budget. I wanted to find out what kind of available resources they have, as well as what kind of competition exists, and how regulation might affect the day-to-day processes of the institution. Okay, now we can talk about key findings. The first key finding is that the school's mission is developing global citizens with 21st century skills that will allow them to compete in the world in the future. I found this to be extremely positive. Next, the institution's thinking and management is a blend of East versus West. So, what's the difference between East versus West thinking? Well, in my opinion, East thinking can be very indirect, it can be less questioning of authority, and the rules, procedures, and processes are a bit unclear at times. However, West thinking is a bit more open-minded. Processes, procedures, and rules are a little more clear, and communication is a bit more direct. So it kind of takes the East and the West and kind of blends it together. Okay. Third, intercultural communication and cultural competency are absolutely essential. From a classroom teacher all the way up to the school board, everybody has to be together when it comes to this, or it can cause serious problems according to the interviewee. Number 4, this was a very surprising finding for me. Number 4, I found that the institution uses ad hoc working groups, and decisions have to go through multiple layers before they're approved or denied. I had thought previously that because the institution is located in China, that the decision-making process would maybe be more linear and more authoritarian. I thought there would be less eyes on decisions and it would just be a small group of people making the decisions. However, I was absolutely wrong about that, and this is another surprising and positive finding. Next, there's a heavy competition for the school. So education is a developing market in China, so there's many competitors that are trying to get a piece of the pie and see what they can do. Lastly, the interviewee said that the school is always subject to Chinese regulation. So Chinese regulation can be very strict and unpredictable, and this is something that the institution must always pay attention to. Okay? All right, so next I'm going to provide you with an analysis. So first, I found that the institution follows current literature on the need to develop global citizens with 21st century skills extremely well. So according to our class readings and my own outside research, this is something that every institution should be striving to do, and ID is no exception to that. Next, I found that the importance of cultural communication, intercultural communication that is, and cultural competency is just essential for the school to function properly. And this also coincides very well with previous studies I've read myself and some of the course readings and discussions we've had. Next, giving this key decision-making power to various groups also connects very well with Olson's and Panapacker's suggestions. So those two course readings we had for our class, those really suggested that having more people as a part of the decision-making process can make the institution healthier, and is probably what's best for the students as well. And I found that the institution here, surprisingly, does a really good job of giving various groups power and kind of making the decision-making process less linear and getting more people involved. So that was a very positive thing that connects very well with the current research. Lastly, I also found that the institution puts a significance on developing partnerships. So I mentioned how there is a lot of competition in China. One thing the interviewee said was that competition can actually be a beneficial thing for the institution. They can develop partnerships and develop and become better and improve. And this also falls in line well with many universities and colleges in the US, according to a joint Blackboard and UPCEA survey that I read. Okay, so that basically finishes up the analysis. So here's a list of my references, and this is going to finish up my presentation. So I hope that you learned something from the presentation and you took something away that was worthwhile. And also I want to thank you for giving me the time to explain to you my signature assignment and to present it to you. I really appreciate that, and I hope that you have a really good day. Thank you again, and goodbye.